Welcome back everybody to another video. Today we're talking about the very hot and spicy topic of piracy. In the background here you're going to see us at AVS running a piracy operation in Stanton during this event time. And today, before you start jumping to conclusions, we're going to talk about the big mistakes that we're seeing out there in the persistent universe and ways that you can avoid being pirated and help understand your place in the ecosystem. I can't tell you how many times we go out on stream and off stream and encounter groups of players that are either very unprepared or just completely unaware of some of the core game mechanics that lead to how they get interdicted and what to do in these different situations. So to start, I want to briefly talk about the interdiction mechanics and how they work. I've made videos before about the interdiction system, but things are slightly different with master modes. As many of you may know, there are different interdictor ships out there. One of them, which is included in this video, is the Mantis from RSI. The Mantis is the only ship in StarCitizen right now that can pull you out of quantum travel and stop you from warping. Now you have to understand that there is a big difference between a quantum snare, which is used on the RSI Mantis, and the quantum dampener, which is used also on the Mantis, but also on the Cuddy Blue, on the RSI Antares, because the dampener and snare function differently. Now, the RSI Mantis has access to both the snare and the dampener, but you cannot have the snare and the dampener turned on at the same time. So, briefly, let's talk about how does one exactly get interdicted. So, StarCitizen works on a spline system, and what I mean by that is it works in lines from point A to point B. In quantum travel, there is no moving around left, right, up, or down. You're just simply going from point A to point B in an absolutely straight line. Now, the snare, when set up properly, will interdict the flight path between 2 points in space. So, for example, if there is a mission that is heading between 2 specific points in space, let's say a station or a jump point, if a smart interdictor pilot positions himself directly in that flight path, stops midway through the travel, sets up his snare by charging, waiting for it to fully charge, and then deploying it, the snare will stop any ship traveling across that path, whether they're in quantum or not. The difference here is that the snare does not stop people from entering navigation mode. In master modes and the way the system is working currently, if you are pulled out of quantum, you are inside a 20-kilometer bubble that's emanating from the RSI Mantis. But you must understand that even though you're caught in this bubble, you can still go into nav mode and travel at nav mode speeds. This is why the dampener is different than the snare. The snare is used to pull people out of quantum in a travel route, like how you see in this video here. People are getting stopped in mid-space in Stanton, hundreds of thousands of kilometers away from their objective, and being forced into a battle that they don't want. This is a necessary part of piracy, because if you try to pirate at stations, you have to deal with turrets, other players, and many other problems. Whereas if you pull them out in the middle of Stanton, like you see here, the chance of them traveling 74 million kilometers back to their target is very low. Now, while someone gets pulled out, as you can see here from the snare, a lot of us run a second Mantis or a ship that has a dampener. The dampener, when applied, has significantly less range than the snare. However, the dampener stops you from entering nav mode speeds and quantuming out, just like the snare. So what happens is it's a double point system. The snare pulls you out of quantum and into the space to fight, which is 20 kilometers radius from the Mantis. The dampener stops you from warping away as well, as it stops you from going into nav mode speeds. So even though you have your nav mode on, you will not be able to warp away. I can't tell you how many times people in chat type in, is there a glitch with my quantum? Why couldn't I go into nav mode? Blah, blah, blah. This is a fundamental part of StarCitizen that I think every one of you folks watching this video need to understand. You must be aware that if you are traveling between 2 points in space and it is on a busy route that possibly is being used for mission running like today's event and yesterday's event, then you should expect there to be trouble in between those 2 points. Now, there are multiple strategies to keep yourself safe in these situations. One of them is called doglegging, which basically means you're breaking the flight path between 2 points in space. This strategy is very useful for getting around snare camps because the distances StarCitizen plays with are extremely vast. So even a small deflection degree between 2 points in space is more than enough to get away from the small 20-kilometer bubble that is set up in between 2 points. For example, if you are at Station A, and let's say you halfway through your route cancel your quantum by turning off your quantum drive, and then you reroute your destination to Station B, that is 90 degrees offset from the station that you're going to, and return moving towards your original goal, what ends up happening is you end up changing your approach direction and your approach angle, which essentially means the chance of you getting caught drops by almost 100%. The amount of people who've gotten caught in the last few days, every single one of them has failed to do this very simple strategy. It does not require scouts. It does not require escorts. It doesn't require much of anything. And it is a very simple way of avoiding any kind of pirate gate camps between stations, especially now in today's world where the event is making money hand over fist. The people that are getting caught in these videos and out there in the PU are people who I describe as maximum greed. They don't hire escorts, they don't care to scout, and they simply don't care to avoid pirates because they feel that they are entitled to their cargo. Now, I have said this on many occasions, that your attitude when going into the persistent universe should not be, I should be this, I should be that, people should treat me this way. You should expect people to treat you poorly and to steal your stuff without any reason to, other than the fact that they want to. Preparing yourself for any other situation is only going to set yourself up for failure. And the sooner you realize that the only person protecting you is you, the sooner you're going to be able to get yourself in a better position, make the money you're looking for, and avoid the pirates and unfortunate situations that are cropping up in the persistent universe. We do this as an educational purpose because truthfully, honestly, I want StarCitizen to succeed. Deeply, I want this game to be the best it can possibly be. But the player base needs to understand, and I've said this on stream many times before, the player base needs to understand that their responsibility for their own safety is them and them alone. If you get caught by pirates and your first instinct is to immediately start personally attacking and being upset and making yourself out to be the victim, that may be funny for a few moments, but the truthful reality is it's not going to help you. You need to understand that the responsibility for your safety is in your hands and your hands only. And the best way to do that is to be educated, aware, and willing to be able to change your ways so that you can benefit from all of this stuff going on. We've discussed doglegging, we've discussed the mentality shift, and we've also discussed some basic formats and how interdiction works. What we've been noticing out there in the persistent universe, guys, and I'm saying this with all love, is greed is out of control. There are so many people getting caught, loaded to the absolute top, and they have no scout, no security, and they're absolutely and not a care in the world. If you're gonna fly, regardless of whether it's in Pyro or in Stanton, you have to pay attention. It's only from this point forward, folks, going to get worse. And that doesn't mean worse in a bad way. It just means more and more people, more and more groups of pirates out there are going to start realizing that it is essentially open season on so many members of the community. It is your responsibility, like I said before, to keep yourself safe. And if there's one thing that you get from this video, if there's one piece of advice that I desperately hope that people are listening, fly with friends. Go out there and find yourself a cool group of folks that you like hanging out with that play StarCitizen, that maybe don't have negative attitudes and sit all day on Reddit or Spectrum, that actually play the game. And if you can't find that group, go look for one. There are plenty of groups out there that are desperately looking for active, great people. So if you're by yourself and you're just twiddling your thumbs and you're getting frustrated with all the stuff going on, do yourself a favor, take my advice, go find some people to play with. You can find them all over the place. There are Spectrum posts of orgs that are recruiting. There are YouTube channels. Just spend a little bit of time and get in there and find the group that you feel like you resonate the best with. If there's anything that I can suggest in StarCitizen is just don't play alone. Don't do it. The game is not geared towards solo play like it used to be anymore, and the skill ceiling has been dramatically dropped like we've talked about before. So you've got to maximize what you got. But these are my tips, folks, for getting away from pirates. We do this on stream all the time. We're here as a resource for you folks. If you like this video and you feel like it was helpful, please consider sharing it to all you other folks out there. And remember, we are ultimately all in this together. We are one community. So let's find a way to keep each other honest, keep each other educated so that we can really get the best game we can. Also, folks, if you find yourself the one being pirated, ask yourself the hard questions. What did I do to make this situation worse or get myself in this spot? It's okay to make mistakes. The game is in alpha state. Nothing we make monetary wise or AUEC wise really matters right now. What matters is if you learn from that experience. So what you should be doing right now is getting your head in the right space, getting yourself in the right place mentally to understand the risks that are going to come at you in StarCitizen. Don't ask for private servers and PvE stuff. Accept that you are living in this universe with everybody else. And that should be a great, awesome, amazing thing. But also be aware that there are bad guys out there. No amount of complaining about the fact that there are bad guys out there is going to change the fact that there are. You cannot insulate yourself from everything. Get out there and get involved in the world. Don't be afraid to get out there and take a few hits. But as long as you learn, you're on the path for success. Thank you so much, folks. I hope to see you out for the next stream, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on most days. My name was Avenger1, and I'll see you next time.